You can't start a podcast by ending it. Then it's an ending.
Memento.
Welcome to the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Hope you've enjoyed.
It's a good movie.
This
All
is
right.
a
Does anyone want to intro us?
One-off podcast.
Yeah, Dad said he would.
As Ryan today.
That's Ryan.
Yeah.
And by the way, hi Ryan, because I know you're listening.
Did we start it yet?
This is Matt's dad.
It's really quiet.
Ryan Dawn.
This is Matt's dad.
You don't wanna
Welcome
put
to
your mouth.
YouTube. Pop, huh?
You don't want to put your mouth on the pop filters.
No.
They're disgusting.
Pop culture unboxing.
Yes.
Another episode of pop culture unboxing, and we have a couple special guests here.
We do.
Do you want to introduce them?
No?
Okay, I can. Matt's here.
Hi,
but
I'm Matt.
He's not a special guest.
No.
And
Well-
Zach is back.
Yeah, here I am.
Nice. Good to see you,
Actually,
Zach.
It's
I have the
always good to be
distinction.
here.
Now that Ryan's not here for this episode, this has officially given me the distinction of being the only cast member of Pop Culture Unboxing who has been on every episode so far.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Who's that?
Way to go.
Oh yeah, that's other voice that just popped in.
Yeah.
That is
Hey, this is Matt's other brother, JP.
I mean, you're the first brother we've introduced on here.
Oh, there's another one.
There is another.
Yeah.
only one other.
Older than
Yes.
both of us.
Yes, somehow.
Yeah.
No,
in-
no,
Immaturity.
no,
Oh.
no. Tommy's younger than you,
Oh.
John Paul.
Oh.
John Paul's here too.
Got to think about some things.
Yeah.
So we're excited about this episode, aren't we?
Great.
We are. And, well, I should start out by saying, yeah, if you haven't noticed, Ryan's not here. Zach, did you introduce yourself yet?
I did.
did.
I said
Okay.
I'm here again. It's always
Cool.
good to be
Hi,
here.
Zach.
Zach is back.
Just wanted to make
Hello.
sure.
Yeah.
Zach Attack. Ryan is not here because his one of his coworkers has to be covered for because he might be having to get tested for COVID. So Ryan is pulling an extra shift and can't be here to record with us. So, yep.
But he's listening now,
Probably.
Champion.
which is weird. Like we're here now,
Yeah.
But like we're talking to people who would be hearing us later. But we are presenting ourselves as if they're hearing us now,
Yeah.
but later.
Yeah.
that's too
that's
much.
podcasting. Welcome to podcasting.
This is too deep.
Welcome to the egg before the chicken.
Yes.
It really is. Like it's weird.
I want to start the episode first by doing what I did last episode and calling for a call to action at the beginning of it, which I think we need to do a call to action. You're not supposed to call it out as a call to action.
No, you're not supposed to introduce it.
No, but you're not, but I am. So we just want to ask everybody to tell your friends if you enjoy listening to us. Tell your friends about us because word of mouth is huge for a small show like us. I also want to call out. We've got a couple new listeners in some new places.
Nice.
Couple states here in the U.S. I believe we got a new listener or two in Ohio, New York, New Jersey, and we also have a couple listeners from across the pond in Ireland, and I believe one or two in England as well. So I want to shout out to you guys. Thanks for listening. Hope you've
Nice.
enjoyed it.
My
Way to go,
ancestors.
Yeah.
I
What?
guess our ancestors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The homeland.
Yeah. We're all part
Lots
of
of
one
fuck
big
to them.
happy Anglosphere.
Really?
See,
Nope. So you might be wondering why do we have two new guests on other than the fact that we needed to replace Ryan? The fact is we're talking about a movie that is very special to a lot of us that we're very excited about. I don't know so much about Zach. I don't know how excited you are about it. But I brought in two of the biggest experts I know on the topic.
10,000
And that
candles.
is?
John Paul.
What are we talking about today?
Breakfast Club.
Yes.
Close.
The hit movie about a coming of age of teenagers.
As long as you
Right.
put spice in that breakfast.
Well, every one
Like
of my
ketchup?
Close. Like
Pepper?
Blamage.
Pepper. melange.
Blamage.
You're not talking about like putting like worms in your food or something,
No.
right?
Close. Yeah.
Melange.
Yeah, melange.
What are they
Blamage
called?
is
The Shy Halud or something like that?
is an alternative rock band
Oh,
from
the
1980s.
the
by the way.
worms.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, that's their god. That's the
Oh.
worm god.
In case you haven't figured it out, we're talking about Dune,
Arrakis.
Arrakis,
By Frank
Spice Must
Herbert.
Flow. And this is going to be directed by Denis Villeneuve, which is it's not pronounced Denis Villeneuve, which I think I've said several times on the podcast. I actually looked it up and found out no, it's pronounced Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah,
Which
those
is an interesting
you know,
fact for
French.
you.
And he also is a tremendous director in what other movies, John Paul?
Breakfast Club.
Nope.
Yep. He got
Zach?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
close. You're getting closer. Come into this
Edge of Tomorrow.
Into this century. Edge of Tomorrow is a cool movie.
It is a great
I
movie.
think I've seen it like 10 times.
Laser gun.
That's not a cool movie.
Time Cop.
Time Cop's not a cool movie.
You dare to say that about our Lord Savior Jean-Claude Van Damme?
It truly is a painful movie to watch.
But he does that cool split.
man.
Yeah, no.
Aliens.
Well, it starts with the same letter.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's about.
It is about aliens.
Arrival is.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Do you know who's in it?
Yes.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
No.
No. It is the dude from 9 weeks later.
I don't know.
9 days later. No, what was the
28 days later?
28 days later.
Terry Crews.
Nope.
No.
He was also in the
Batman. Are you
He,
thinking?
he was never in Batman.
Oh.
Michael Keaton.
Christian
think-
Bale.
Nope. No, and he was also Hawkeye in
Yes. Jeremy Renner.
Yes.
Who was I thinking of? Sunshine. He was in Sunshine as well.
I mean, Michael
Yes.
Keaton's pretty
Jeremy
close
Renner
to
was
Jeremy
not in
Renner.
Sunshine.
No, he
They're basically
wasn't.
the
But who am
same
I
person.
thinking? 28 Days Later as well. Who was he in that? Or
He
what
was-
was the actor?
He was in 28 Days Later.
Yes, but the main character.
Oh.
Who was also in
oh,
Sunshine.
In Sunshine, yeah.
What was his name?
He was also in Batman.
Yes, he was Scarecrow.
Stevie Nicks.
Close.
That is a name, and he has a name. So you were
Anyway,
close.
this has been going on for a long time. Denis Villeneuve is well known for directing Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, and Sicario.
Sicario is an awesome movie, by the way, in case you guys get an opportunity.
Which is
to
funny
watch it.
that I bring it up because I didn't know he directed that, and you and I happened to be talking about that last week. And
Very good
with
movie. I never saw the Day of the Soldad or whatever the sequel was. I didn't watch
I didn't.
that.
Either. Obviously I didn't because I
But
didn't see the first
Sicario
one.
was really, really good.
With also in Marvel,
Yes.
Del Toro, Benicio del Toro.
Yes. His character is fantastic in that movie, by
He's
the way.
super good in
Yeah.
everything.
And Blade Runner 2049, not for everyone, but
No.
I enjoyed
Very
it.
good. I was a fan.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of it.
It's the kind of movie that you need to be able to make Dune correctly, from what I know.
I was gonna say, is that the new one
Yes.
or the old
Yeah.
one? Okay.
New one. And because the way I look at it, because he took his time with 2049, and he kind of does with both of the other ones.
Yeah.
He's a director that isn't afraid to allow us to kind of figure things out and to mull over things as we're watching a scene, which that scene that we're watching is also adding to it. But he's just really, really good at that, I think.
Yeah. Arrival definitely really takes its time.
well, that's a good
It really
trait.
lets you
pacing.
connect with.
That's a good trait to have for the Dune things, especially just because if you've ever read the book, a lot of stuff isn't explained outright. A lot of it is just explained through exposition to what it is. So you're taught about things not by saying it to a character, but by actually hearing what it is and like seeing it in action, which is something that in a movie is hard to do.
There's and there's a lot about Dune they had tough time with it in the 80s version,
1984.
84. And they did do a voiceover at the beginning, and they did try to introduce some, but because it's such a complex series of novels, I will be interested to see how he handles what you're talking about, because there's that the whole like how do all of these characters and entities interact, and in the novel, obviously you have all the novel's like this thick. You get
He's
Nobody
doing
saw
hand
that.
gestures in an audio podcast.
412 pages.
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot in that
Yeah.
that introduces the complexity of this entire world.
And that's the whole book, both halves essentially, right?
Is what?
For the 412 pages.
412 pages is the first Dune book,
right.
which
Yeah,
is
something
the
we'll cover a little bit. Or no, we can cover it now, actually. The last thing I wanted to do on our first note here was well known for his roles in Luke Cage and The Green Book. I brought him up before on the podcast. His Mahershala Ali. I always pronounce it as Mahershala, but it's Mahershala Ali, which I just thought was interesting because it came from when I was looking up the pronunciation of Denis Villeneuve.
Who is this?
Is he in Dune?
No,
Oh, that was just
it's
because you
just
were
an
looking at
aside
the-
that
okay.
I saw, and I'm like, oh wow,
But Green Book. Wow, is that an
I know.
awesome movie?
I need to see that.
Jeez, you saw it.
No.
Oh my gosh.
He doesn't watch movies with us.
It honestly is.
I'm
Did
not
you see
invited.
it, Zach?
Which one?
Green Book.
No, I have not.
honestly is up there with like one of my favorite movies ever made.
Yeah?
It's
I'll
that
have to
good.
watch it.
Yeah,
With Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen, right?
and that's
Viggo Mortensen.
Yes.
that's one of my favorite roles that he played. I mean, he was good in The Road, and he was good in
Oh, my
obviously
God.
in the whole Hobbity thing. But
Lord of the Rings.
yeah, that's what
The
I was
Road.
gonna say.
The Road is a rough movie.
It is a hard movie to watch.
Have you ever seen it, Zach?
No, I have not.
But this,
Oof.
I mean,
Well, when
I
you said road, all I could think of was what's it called? Rubber, the one with the
The tire.
The tire.
The tire.
Oh,
It's
The
like the
tire
demon
that
possessed
kills
tire
around
that
and
kills
kills
people.
yeah. No, this is
One
better
of the
than
best
that.
horror films.
It was like the first thing I thought of. I was like, odd. I thought the main character was a tire. What an interesting role for someone to play.
close. But yeah, so this movie Dune is being made. There's a lot of people in it, which we'll go over that a little bit later. But this is supposedly going to be the first of 2 movies, and
That's it.
Well,
Yeah,
for the
supposedly.
first book, that's all
Yes.
that they have done right now. But so with the first book, it's one novel, 412 pages, but they're splitting it up into 2 movies.
Yes, there's no details known about the second one yet, other than it should release in 2021. The first one, which essentially will cover the first half of the book, and I should say it now, we're going to spend most of the first part of this episode talking about it kind of generically, no spoilers. But toward the end, we'll probably start diving into more spoilers and kind of more what we can expect from the movie, where it'll cut off, where the first one will end and the second one will begin. But the first one is expected to come out, I put this at the end, December 18th, 2020, assuming it doesn't get pushed back, which it shouldn't. I mean, there's probably still deep in post-production right now. And then the second half, hopefully, in 2021.
So we're actually going to get multiple movies out of this novel. It's not just going to be one.
Well, the books that Frank Herbert wrote were. I'm reading a book right now by George Herbert.
Any relation?
Son?
Actually, it's a woman.
Any relation?
No, not at all. But anyway, so he wrote 5 novels. That
5?
it was just his were just 5
Chapter House was his son then.
with a manuscript. I think he had a manuscript
Yeah.
from his dad because Frank Herbert died, and so then now there's like 20 in the whole series. I've only read Frank Herbert's version because I started reading Paul of Atreides and just wasn't into it. And to be honest with you, this isn't like spoiler or anything, but when I got to the end of the Frank Herbert group of books, I was exhausted and I was done. I didn't want to do anything. I was done.
Yeah, I made it only halfway through the 4th book, I think, before I just kind of lost steam.
Yeah, I kind of forced myself to finish it because it just got to the point where I honestly didn't care. So when you ask that about, is this going to be, a series or whatever, they would have to really change the storyline, I think, to make it interesting enough to engage, because there is a lot of just
It gets pretty
spiritual
weird.
stuff,
Yeah.
and not like spiritual like God stuff, but God in the sense of a big giant worm God. But
Yeah, and in terms of like
The
how,
Alaskan bullworm god. The Alaskan bullworm god.
yeah, basically. But if you want to actually make this of all the books, you'd have to start it out from the beginning. Like this first movie, you'd have to put the focus on something because the whole series,
someone.
the whole series isn't just about one person. I'll say that. And you'd have to establish that from the first movie. Otherwise, it's not going to feel like a cohesive movie series.
Right. I mean, you could do that. I mean, you could do it if you're going to do this second film based on the first book. You could do it by. I mean, it would be hard. You'd have to kind of write backwards. You'd have to go into those later novels and write back into the end of that second movie.
Yeah.
Aspects of that would bring that person higher up into the interest scale.
Yeah.
But I think you could do it.
Yeah, but the question becomes then at that point is Villeneuve interested in producing all of these movies, or is he just interested in adapting the first book?
Yeah.
Because I think for him, his next move after this, especially if Dune is a hit, is to go make his own property, is to make his own sci-fi movie.
Right.
Because Arrival's based on a book, Blade Runner is a sequel to a movie that already exists, and Dune, it's based on the book Dune.
Right.
So it'd be really cool. And having seen all of his other stuff, except for Sicario, apparently, I'd really like to see what he does with his own sci-fi story that he can make up on his own.
But is he a writer?
That I'm not sure of. And maybe that is the thing. Maybe he is just, he's good at adapting.
Yeah.
But he just does it so well.
Yeah, adapting is a hard thing to do. I noticed that Because one of the things I think we were talking about with maybe a future show is doing things from like a theatrical perspective, and like adapting a movie to a book or like what was an original play is really difficult because there's a lot of details that you miss because you're trying to hit that runtime.
Yeah.
So it's like if you have something that's 3 or 6 hours worth of content, dropping it down to 2 or 2.5, even that half hour makes a huge difference in the storytelling that you can say. So you lose context and you lose like motivations and trying to make it happen.
You had to start combining characters. You had to start finding subplots that could be pulled out.
Well, but also that's what makes a good director versus a bad director is a good director is able to understand his material so well, or her, and they're able to it's a visual medium. We know that. And so you need to visually move that story along with details. And that's why I said I think he's a really good choice, because I think he can present an environment where you're able to maybe get some of the stuff that's in the book, but you can't really put into dialogue.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping
Well, and that's
can.
a big issue with adapting too, especially adapting a book. Is what you get with the book is you can read characters' minds. You can read all of their minds and see and know exactly what they're thinking and know what they know. A book can take a paragraph or two to tell the reader directly about some concept or another.
Right.
Movies don't get to do that. Like, you can do it, and some have done it. It's really hard to do without coming across as tacky.
And I think that's where the intersection between a good director and a good actor comes in.
Yeah.
Is that director is the visionary for the movie, and they say, okay, Matt, we've got this situation, and I know you're thinking along these lines, but you've got to be realizing that you're actually doing this. And so you put a good actor in there, and they've got the facial expressions, they've got the reactions, and it's just, I mentioned that over the weekend we watched Rain Man again.
Yeah.
And, in that, have you guys all seen it?
No.
I haven't, no.
Oh my gosh.
I know it's
all
I
on
know
you.
it's
It
one of
is
those
such a
movies.
good movie. And just my brain went off. But the main character who plays a autistic savant, oh my gosh. Anyway, he was phenomenal in it. And I think it won Oscars. I'm
sure
pretty
it did.
sure.
Yeah, it's well known.
Because he was just so able to, through just facial expressions, like, I don't know, so I think that's where he would come in, and I think he did that on the other movies I've seen of his. I'm back to Denis, that he's able to do that he's able to combine that skill with the actors with his ability to present that vision to them and them being able to convey
Well,
it.
I mean, it's interesting you bring that up, is because I put on here a bunch of the actors that are going to be in it, and I'm excited. And I'm really excited based on these castings, but I'm hoping that you guys can shed more light on just how good this casting might be. So to start off with, we have Timothy Chalamet as Paul Atreides, who has not been. He's been in some more artsy films, such as Lady Bird, Little Women, and a 2009 episode of Law and Order.
All right, I saw the first two, believe it or not.
Did
Really?
you?
I
What'd you think?
just saw Little Women, and I saw Lady Bird probably
Oh, cool.
6 months ago.
I was hoping someone here would know them.
He's fantastic.
Yeah?
I mean, and even to see him in both of these roles, the one in Lady Bird, it's a modern, I think it's supposed to be set in like the 70s or something. But Little Women is obviously set back in the 1800s, the mid 1800s, and he was fantastic in both of them.
Yeah.
And so
And
I
knowing
think it's
what
a
you know
great
about
role.
the character of Paul Atreides, what would
Yeah, and the thing I like about that casting is Paul Atreides, the way I envisioned it when I first read the novels before any movies were ever made, is, and maybe because I was reading it as a teenage boy, I pictured him as a teenage boy, because he is. I think
he's 15 years old in the first book.
at the very beginning.
At the beginning of the book.
And so I probably read it around that age. So I'm imagining, a smallish, because I think
He's a kid.
But he's not imposing. The character is not imposing.
Not in terms of physicality, but he
Correct.
still carries himself with like I think it defines him as like carrying a regality of like being a
Right.
house.
Which he is, right.
Yeah.
Which he's the son of a duke. The Duke.
Yeah.
And so envisioning that, I'm thinking this actor will be fantastic for it.
Yeah,
I mean,
but then you go on further. You see Oscar Isaac as Duke Leto Atreides, which
Leto.
we all Leto. Is it Leto?
I always said Leto.
Yeah, which everyone knows who he is.
Leto missed the
I mean,
boat.
biggest thing, obviously, Poe in Star Wars. My personal favorite of his was I actually put Driver. It's Drive.
Oh.
And Ex Machina, which was a phenomenal movie with him, Domhnall Gleeson, and I forget the actress's name. It was
It's
Vikander, was it?
yeah.
Yeah.
He was much better in Ex Machina than he was in Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Well, but he had the benefit of having a better script.
This is
Yes.
true.
And there was a lot less to work, and there wasn't like probably a lot of CG and stuff to work with.
Yeah.
Like even Alicia, right?
Yeah,
Vikander?
Alicia, yeah.
She was on set in a probably green bodysuit.
Yeah,
So they still acted
yeah.
with her.
Yeah.
And then him and Domhnall Gleeson had a lot. They obviously have a lot of chemistry, probably because they'd worked together on Star Wars.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah.
But in terms of my worry with Duke Leto in the movies was them overcasting him and making him too, because in the books he isn't featured as he's not the main character. So I was worried they would pull someone who takes the focus from.
Which, if I was a director and I was doing this, I probably would write back a bigger role for him.
Yeah.
Because I think that in the movie that was made in the 80s and the series, did you know there was a series done? There was a sci-fi series done.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I watched some of it, and it was not so great.
No?
No, and I honestly, we'd have to watch that sometime. But yeah, they did a whole series of Dune, and they actually did Children of Dune was they did, and I think it was Sci-Fi. I think it was the channel that did it, but I would write back some of the stuff that you find out later, and I think it's in Children of Dune or whatever about Leto and what's her name, Jessica, which isn't hugely covered in the first novel. I would probably do that too. And I think that would answer your comment, John Paul, about overcasting.
Well, but here's the thing, though, is look at the three examples I put there. Star Wars, Drive, and Ex Machina. You can't really argue that he's the main character of any of those.
No.
He's a side character, but he still is a fantastic in that role.
Yeah.
And Star Wars is the closest one, whereas in like Ex Machina, and even Drive to some extent, he plays kind of an antagonist a little bit. But in both
sorts.
cases, it's not that clear.
Yeah.
Especially Drive.
Well, what probably happened is the director probably watched the last two Star Wars movies and thought, here's a guy that you expect to be amazing and just slowly fades into the background, like exactly what you guys are describing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he doesn't really fade into the background.
No, he doesn't. Even I know that. I haven't read the books, and I know how that goes.
But I know what you're saying, Zach. Yeah.
This is my half
And
attempt
you already
at a
mentioned
joke.
her, but then we have Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica, who has not been in a whole lot. Most recently, Doctor Sleep, which was the sequel to what was the Stephen King movie with
Which one?
the one
The
everyone
Shining?
knows. The Shining, yeah.
Yeah.
Dr.
Oh,
Sleep,
really?
yes.
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
Life, which was that movie.
Did you see it?
Doctor Sleep?
No, Life.
Life. No, I didn't.
I did.
Was it good?
It actually wasn't horribly horrendous.
Yeah.
Like
It looked interesting.
it was. It was, and she, I think, was the main character in it, and she did
Okay.
great. I mean, the acting
Yeah.
in the movie was really good.
That one and Ad Astra are two that I feel like I'd probably like. Ad Astra was the new one with Brad Pitt.
I did not see that one.
I heard it was all right.
Yeah.
And then she's also Ilsa Faust.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You know what else she
Mission
was?
Impossible.
She was.
Zach, I see, has her open
She was
already, actually.
in
Yeah.
Greatest Showman. She
Yes.
was.
Was she?
She was the opera singer in Greatest Showman.
I saw that. I didn't put it on here.
I was
but-
gonna say I've not seen anything with her in
and
it,
she was
but-
good in the Mission Impossible ones.
Yeah.
I just watched again the end of Rogue Nation.
Is that the one with Henry Cavill?
Yes.
I
No.
just-
No. That wasn't with Henry Cavill.
Fallout was...
Fallout.
I watched that one recently. I don't know if I
Rogue
watched.
Nation was with Jeremy Renner.
If Henry
didn't
Cavill's
watch
in,
that
sign me up.
Is Fallout the newest one,
No.
or is Rogue Nation the newest one?
No, it's
Rogue-
Fallout.
No,
Is it?
Fallout was like 2017, I thought.
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah,
there
I
been-
don't think
Zach
I had
has
enough
this all up
time
on
to
his
bring up
phone.
another one.
So what's the newest one? I think
This one's
Fallout.
2015. Hold
I think
on.
it's Fallout.
Probably. I watched it on Amazon and it was good. I missed a lot because I didn't watch Rogue Nation or the one before it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of plot I feel like I missed. But it was
No,
still
not
pretty
really.
good.
Yeah.
Is there any
Mostly
plot to
her
them?
character.
But
was
she's
what I
really
missed.
good.
Yeah,
I mean,
she
she's a
was.
fantastic actress, and I love I mean, she's got that kind of, like you were saying about Paul and having that regal. Even though she's a concubine, she actually is almost like, and she's not even married to Leto. She's not technically the
Now, is Leto
Duchess.
Paul's father?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but
I don't know why I had it in my head that he was his brother.
So Lady Jessica is one of the Bene Gesserit, and they're basically bred for that purpose of marrying or being concubines for dukes and the like. So it's kind of, she's been bred not her whole life, but she's been bred for the purpose of doing that. So she does carry that regality, and I think that's something, at least from my experience with her in The Greatest Showman, is something Rebecca Ferguson can play.
Easy.
She can hold herself up to that standard.
So they're almost like the companions from Firefly.
Was she in the Handmaid's Tale?
I don't know. You're the one
That
who
I
has
don't
her
know.
filmography. She was also in Men in Black International, which I
That
didn't
new
see.
one. I've heard
Oh, I
bad
didn't see it
things.
either.
Yeah, I heard it was.
I was going to the other night with Cole, but we never did.
Well,
Yeah,
the
no, she's
the
not.
main actress of that, she's the one in Thor, right?
Yes.
Yes.
She's Valkyrie.
Which she
So-
was really good in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was great.
All right.
And then we go on to some of the characters that aren't part of the Atreides family, such as Dave Bautista as Beast Rabin.
Yeah. This is a good if you've ever seen
His name is Beast, so I assume it's a good casting.
Yeah, Dave Bautista, he always plays the big, strong guy who's kind of simple-minded, which is more or less the character of Beast Rabin.
And he's worked with Villeneuve before,
In.
Blade Runner 2049.
Where he played
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, where
a
he played.
mindless muscle guy.
He wasn't mindless.
No,
I
he wasn't.
disagree. I think that he was a replicant, but he was a replicant who recognized what needed to be done. The fact that they remember he was at the very beginning.
No, I'm stuck on didn't he play
Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, James Bond.
Yeah. Now
That's
that
what
he
I'm
was a
thinking.
mindless
Yeah,
Hulk.
that's what
Hold
I'm
on.
thinking.
Oh, he
not-
was in James Bond?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was in
in,
Spectre.
Yeah,
Oh.
Spectre.
Oh, the one I didn't see.
Yeah, he was really good
Yeah.
at it.
He was also in that movie where he's like a secret agent, and the girl he trains the little
That
girl.
just came out, I think,
like
yeah.
Spy or something.
Yeah.
Spy
It's the thing that
Movie.
all those big guys in Hollywood have to do one of those. Vin
Yeah.
Diesel did the Babysitter one.
The Rock.
He did
I guess you could say the football one where he takes on
Yeah.
the little girl.
yeah, they all have
Yeah.
that movie.
Right.
And
So,
then before that,
so
someone did
it's
the
like
Tooth Fairy.
That was also The Rock.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have Ice Cube who did the
Oh, Ghost some more? No, that's
he did like a family one like where they're like out at a lake on vacation or something like that.
I don't remember.
when was
Yeah, it is interesting. All these guys end up doing some kind of
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
show, and you're
Yeah,
looking at it.
it's
It's like,
like-
this just doesn't fit.
it's just
Yeah.
awful.
Ice baby.
Well, then coming from kids shows, we have Zendaya as Shani.
Well, wait. I want to go back to
Oh, do you?
the Beast Raban.
Okay.
Is the interesting thing I wanted to point out about Frank Herbert and the writing is he's not writing. I mean, he wrote back in the 1950s, in case you were wondering. But it's not overly action packed. In fact, it's more like ethereal than it is action. So you see Beast Raban and you think, oh, and yes, the
Harkonnens.
The Harkonnen are not good people. They're
Sound like
they're
the name of a good
they're
person.
they're not good people. But there's even with that, other than the big battle at the
middle.
at the wall.
Yeah, that's the middle of
Yeah.
the book.
And that's at the middle of the book. There really isn't much action at all. So I'm curious how he's going to do this for a modern audience. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
Bautista is just written for fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way they would fight, and hopefully they bring in some more of the high tech stuff, which is high tech, low tech,
Yeah,
which is how the
that's
novel
one of
was
the,
written.
Yeah, that's one of
Almost
the
like
things with the book.
retro punk, I think is the term.
That goes back to the whole explaining things because way before the book, I think like 1,000 years at least, there is some war with the machines.
The atomics, yeah.
Yeah, in which like machines were banned. So like thinking machines that sought to imitate the mind of man, I
Right.
think is how it's explained.
Yeah.
Were banned, and basically you don't. There's no computers in these movies, which they were in the 50s, but
Right.
there were.
So AIs, effectively. So
Yeah.
effectively, they banned AIs.
Yeah,
Well, actually, all like
yeah,
computer type
There's
stuff.
no computers. There's the human mentats, which are like thinking machines. They can like do calculations and things like that. They're made to be like raw logical people.
Right.
And I don't know how many people would know it, but the Warhammer 40K all their story stuff draws very heavily on Dune.
Really?
Like there's a ton of that. Yeah, it's the same thing where AIs are outlawed.
Yeah.
And any new technology, like other advanced alien races, is forbidden.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's almost a religion.
Which is kind of crazy when you get into some of the stuff on Dune because they actually are in starships that can fold space.
Well.
So how are you doing that without a computer?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I know the whole spice thing and
Yeah.
everything, but
The what are the pilots called? That's I was trying to think of that earlier.
the navigators.
Navigators. Yeah. I was
And
trying
then,
to think of that.
Warhammer has something similar to that. They have humans with psychic powers that
Yeah.
allow them to
That's basically-
do what a computer would do.
Yeah, they're able to see so far forward in space, basically using the spice that they can travel at those high speeds by folding space.
Yeah.
So
Because
I
you gotta give the character some way to get from point A to point
well,
B.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a vehicle. Huh.
Yeah.
So that's I just wanted to jump back to Batista on that, just
Yeah.
to bring up
But
the fact
I mean,
that
that's the thing is that like, again, he's the kind of director that I could see him being comfortable allowing the movie to not have really any action other than a big fight and letting it be dialogue driven and story driven.
right.
Yeah, and that's how the first half of the book is not. There's like Dad said, there's scant fighting. It
Right.
rarely happens until the end. Most of it's just training stuff, which like that's going to be one of the challenges in splitting this book up. Is the first half of the book is basically meant to build the universe and build the scene.
But like I said, if you want to write back some things where you show how Leto got to their home world,
Where they were born. That,
I just, just
We
drew
were
a
talking about
blank.
this before the show, and they couldn't remember
Drew a
it
blank.
then.
And
The planet everyone knows in the movie, and the movie will probably start on, is Arrakis.
Caladan is their home world.
So, which is,
Is.
but they got it by fighting the Harkonnen. That was there was something in there going way back. So I think that if you write back some things in the beginning of it, and you don't jump right into Paul, I think you could do that. You could put some action at the beginning,
Yeah.
and then get into. There's a lot of tension in the beginning. In the beginning half of the book,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of tension with Paul and going to Dune and learning about the Fremen and all that. So there's
You
a
mean
lot of
Arrakis.
it's called Dune.
Is it called Dune?
yeah.
No, the real name, the official name for it is Arrakis, but everyone on it calls it Dune.
Oh, I
calls it
forgot
Dune.
about that.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess,
Plants
where
called
the name comes from.
But
Yeah.
like
But-
you were saying, that's something that they did in Lord of the Rings. They start off talking about the first war, or at least in the third one, or
Well, yeah.
they go back to the war, the big war that they
Right.
had
to
against.
the end of the Second Age, right?
Yeah, they have that speak over or whatever voice
Yeah.
over
And
during
you
that.
know what? You're right there too. Is that it worked in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, that's
Or another thing I just thought of as you were saying that, another possibility would be to show the history of Arrakis and then jump to Leto, because the history of Arrakis, that's why the Harkonnens are so pissed off.
Yeah.
Is that was their planet. They were controlling the spice. And then they did something that ticked off the supreme chancellor, leader, emperor, or whatever he is.
the emperor.
Yeah.
like it is.
And so then that's how they lost it. That's
Yeah.
why they want it back, obviously, because you control the spice.
Yeah, you control the universe. Yeah, the spice
Yeah.
is basically an extremely valuable thing that, like we were talking about, the navigators use it to be able to go at these extreme speeds.
Well,
so
the
it's-
Mentats use it too.
the Mentats use it, and it's basically you need it to be able to travel from planet to planet. So it's one of the most and Dune is the only planet in the universe where you can mine it. So it's one of the most valuable resources, and each of the houses has a planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
And
that
it's
said,
one of
the
those
Harkonnens
things where,
had it.
like, the cultural penetration of Dune can be found mostly with the spice.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be hard pressed to find anyone that doesn't at least vaguely know what you're talking about when you say a quote about the spice.
Right.
Yeah.
Like even Star Wars, I think I think the Spice Behind the Castle is probably a direct reference to it, isn't it?
To Dune? Oh, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. I mean, I've never read that. I mean, maybe it is.
I don't know about
I
that.
find it hard to believe it's not.
No, maybe.
Because
mean-
it's not the spice on Kessel isn't used like that,
right.
but a reference to a highly coveted spice. And just calling
I
it
know, but I
spice.
was thinking, whenever I heard that in Star Wars, I was thinking more it was just a kind of a throwback reference to like the East India Trading Company or something.
I could see that too.
You know, is that was just that
which
was
is similar.
that was what I thought. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe
Yeah.
there was a veiled reference.
And to be clear, yeah, I don't think the Dune. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the spice in Dune is not like salt. You don't put it on your food.
You do.
You eat it.
You do
do?
eat it,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Okay.
you don't
It's
put a
everywhere.
lot of it on.
No, you
your
don't put a
food.
lot, and it's everywhere. It tends to go everywhere.
Yeah, especially like
So
on the
it's-
plant, they talk about like you kind of breathe it in when you're on the planet.
Say spicy salt. Is it cocaine?
It's
Something like that.
it is a spice, like that's how it is. Like
That's what they
explained.
call it,
It's
right.
called
Yeah.
a spice, and it's ingested basically as a spice. You
Right.
put
Yeah.
it on things like
And I think I know the story, like as you get into the further books of where it comes from and that.
Right.
Which
yes,
that'll
that's
be
explained
in the first movie.
That's
Oh,
explained
will
in the
it?
first.
Oh yeah. It's-
Oh, okay. I didn't
as
know if
soon
that
as
was
they
common
get there.
knowledge.
As soon as they get there, they find out. Yeah, because when they get there, who's the first Fremen they meet? He's played by Klaus von Sydow. Klaus von
Stilgar.
Stilgar. When they meet
right there.
No. Sorry, no. Stilgar. They don't meet Stilgar until later.
whoever the first one is they meet.
Scroll down. I put more people on this list.
I
think
don't
it's
think
on
he would have
here.
been casted. He was a pretty small character.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So he actually explains it as soon as they get there because they have to explain why when they were flying over the desert. Remember when they actually
Yeah.
called all the workers to come off of the spice mining thing, and they were just shocked because the Harkonnens never would have done that. They would have been like, "Save the spice. I don't care about those
Yeah.
people." But yet Duke Leto was like, "No, what are you talking about? Go land, go down. We're going to get these people
Oh,
out."
you know what? I remember that scene from
And so
the
that was
84
where
one.
they introduced it, and that was early on.
But they never. That's the explanation of how they mine it and what happens when you mine it. But it's never explained how it's actually made until I think
You're
the
right.
third book.
That's what I meant.
It's never. That's never. It's the second or third. It's
Because
not
isn't
the
that a
first
big
book.
reveal?
no, they know the connection.
They know that the worms are connected to the spice.
Right.
They never learn how or why.
Right. Okay.
until
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. You're right.
Okay.
But okay. So going back to her, the reason I like her in
Chani.
Who?
He's talking
as
about Chani.
I don't know if we got to
Zendaya.
that, but yeah,
We did. That-
Is it Zendaya?
you were starting to say
Zendaya.
that, and I interrupted
Yeah, Zendaya as Shawnee. Shawnee's.
Chani.
you. Chani.
We'll find out.
Cheney. I've
Yeah.
heard it
I
pronounced
mean,
Cheney.
and everyone should know who she
Yeah,
is.
we'll be
She's
wrong about
MJ
every
in the
name.
new Spider-Man
is.
movies. She's been from the Disney Channel. She
Yeah.
was apparently in The Greatest Showman,
And
which
this,
I didn't see.
This is one casting I'm interested in, just because we've seen Zendaya have range, like coming from Disney Channel and actually being able to establish yourself
yeah.
as an actress who can do other things.
Yeah.
is
Yeah, it's hard to
pretty-
do.
Yeah,
Now,
it's very impressive.
Who is Shawnee?
It's, you
or
can't
Basically,
really
the love interest.
yeah
Of
and-
Paul.
which
Okay.
is she doesn't come in until basically halfway through the book, because like it's mentioned that there is a cutoff in the book where it makes sense that they can split it up into two movies, and basically she comes in right before the
Yeah.
split off. So like I don't know how they're gonna write her in to be a more major character in the first movie.
They might not.
Again, if they take, because the problem is that you're introduced to so many different things in the novel that you on a timeline kind of thing, you're not necessarily going to have that in a movie. But if you drop the things in, and a lot of movies do it, you drop it in there. The problem with it is the group of people that she's with. Frank Herbert wanted them to be kind of mysterious, like they live in the desert.
Yeah.
So he wanted them mysterious. He didn't want you never real other than going into the little cubby holes and stuff. You never really learned a whole heck of a lot about this group of people, and so that would be the difficult thing of trying to drop that story early on.
Yeah.
You know, of who they are, where they came from, what they're about, because in the later books, you know, it's almost implied that because of what Paul did, he ruined their culture.
Yeah.
Like thoroughly ruined their culture.
It's kind of outright said, basically, that because these are people that are
Tough.
like very tough, living in the desert. Because on Dune, the desert outside of the cities, it's arid. There's almost no water. There's no water, basically.
And I love how I love the introduction in the book, which I got that far into the book to know it. Is when I believe he's first meeting one of the people who live on Dune, and at the end of the conversation, the guy spits on the table.
Yeah.
Right. But Paul immediately, that's the thing about you were saying about him being regal. He's so quick to recognize their culture, and everybody else. Like I think Gurney takes out his
Yeah,
sword
everyone-
like to cut him, and Paul was like no, and
Yeah.
he spit as well, and or something I forget. And
Yeah, I
he
think that's what it
recognized
does.
how important that was that you actually gave your water to someone.
It's one of the highest honors, basically, in the Fremen culture, because water is so rare. To give your moisture, basically, is the highest form of respect you can give.
And again, I can't shake the feeling that Tatooine even had to have been based a little bit on.
Well, okay, but let me throw that out. there's only so many environments.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
that's
mean?
true.
Like, so you've got water, desert, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, so
And I mean,
big mushrooms.
And
you
everyone
know.
makes fun of Star Wars for that, of having all these single biome planets.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's kind of what we know. And
Right. Yeah.
the planets you can think of as almost people going to different countries in the
Right.
in movies that take place on Earth.
Right.
Is like, you know, and the movie doesn't have time for it. The movie doesn't have time to explain to you, here's Tatooine, we're going to the desert part of it.
Right.
But there's tundras and there are forests on this part of the planet.
Right.
It doesn't matter to the plot.
No.
Like, and
And
so,
right, and it's science fiction. And it's the same thing with this. Is
yeah.
But I mean, there's still no denying because Dune was one of the most influential sci-fi novels of the time. It was
Right.
written in the 50s, right when the genre was basically picking up.
Well, yeah.
And had to have influenced all these different sci-fi novels that are written in the 60s, 70s,
Well,
80s.
and you also had what's his name around that time too. Moon is the Heart's Mistress.
Heinlein, Robert A. Heinlein.
I don't know about
He
him.
influenced a lot of Starship Troopers. He wrote most famously.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that.
He was around that time too, right?
Yeah,
Like
and he also had a period when he was very libertarian.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Well, that's what's annoying.
We're not going to go there.
It's
but
almost annoying in Moon is the Harsh Mistress, as an aside, that the professor character is so clearly a self-insert.
Oh yeah,
Like, it's like painful.
Right.
But it's still, I can, the book has flaws, but I can recognize the significance it had.
yeah.
And that's a movie. It's one I'd love to always see adapted into a movie. It'd be such a cool movie.
I think they could do a great job now.
So
but moving on.
You mentioned Gurney.
Yes, you did.
Who's playing Gurney?
Joshua Brolin.
Joshua. I like him.
Yeah.
think it's
What
kind
has
of-
he been in?
Oh, he's,
Or should I ask, what hasn't he been in?
He's been in a lot.
He's been in a lot
he,
lately.
Wasn't he? I was going to say Macbeth, not Macbeth, but
Romeo.
no.
Hamlet.
Who's the that killed Grendel?
Othello?
No, Beowulf.
Beowulf. Wasn't he the actor who they
No,
did the
I don't
I think
think
Triple
so.
H was the guy that did.
that
The anim-
played Beowulf
that
that
played
they did
Beowulf.
because it was all CG, but
Yeah.
they
I
had
thought it was
characters.
Ewan McGregor.
It definitely
had
wasn't
this
you.
Oh, it's
Discussion.
definitely not. Here, I'll look it
All
up
right,
while
all
you
right.
guys discuss.
Well, but
All right,
he's
you'll be
Josh
Ryan.
Brolin, famously Thanos and Cable.
Right.
And he's always someone who's kind of like, at least in my experience with Josh Brolin, he's someone who's has like a quiet demeanor, who's like a very powerful person,
Right.
basically.
Very imposing.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
and for those that don't know, Gurney is Paul's trainer for fighting.
Yeah. He's not the Mentat. That's the other one.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
So Beowulf was played by Ray Winstone.
That's who it was,
And
Ray Winstone. All right.
Him.
Yeah. And they kind of made a joke about it at the time because he was like an aging 50 something with a pot
Yeah.
belly and all that, but they turned him into Beowulf,
Certainly
which is
wasn't
actually a
Josh
good movie
Brolin.
to watch.
The anime, the CG one, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember being entertained by that. He cuts off his arm to kill a dragon.
In
Doesn't he do that in it?
I don't remember that.
Toward the end, he's like hanging by his arm, and he cuts off his arm so he has enough length through his chainmail.
No clue.
I don't remember that.
I personally remember watching it and remembering it got away from the
Yeah.
poem.
Well, it had to.
And it was very. I was sitting there. I was like, well, this isn't what I was expecting.
Have you ever
It's a
tried to
bad
read the
adaptation.
poem like in the original English?
Oh, God.
No, I don't think I have.
I've looked at
It's
pages.
like reading the Canterbury
It's-
Tales in
One-
the original
one-
English.
Half the
It's
page
like-
is
it's
just
like-
footnotes.
Yes.
I was gonna say, is it like reading the King James version?
Aprosutta.
I don't know
Sure.
about that one.
That's
What'd
the
you
first
say?
one.
It says it like reading a King James version.
No,
it's harder because
It's
it's basically Old English.
Yeah. A lot of it's like you can stumble through it because a lot of stuff like the Canterbury Tales and Beowulf, a lot of it's phonetically similar to English, but the words themselves aren't,
Right.
like how they're written. So if you read it out loud, you can stumble through it easier, but
That makes
it's
sense.
still tough.
Yeah.
And yeah, like JP said, you'll get to pages where it's half of the page is footnotes
Yeah.
saying like this word means this.
Right.
Or this is how this was said.
Interesting.
But anyway,
So Gurney is the trainer, and Gurney
Yeah.
was played in the 1980s movie by
Sting.
no
I don't know. I don't remember.
Patrick Stewart.
Oh, really?
Really?
Huh. I need to go back and watch that.
Yep. So
I
He's
he's
David
don't know
Watt
about
was
that
the
cast.
everyone calls it David Watt's Dune.
oh
I always forget his name.
I do too. I can't think of it.
Anyway, everyone knows this movie.
Yeah.
Like it was not great, but like
So then this next one.
yes.
Okay, this one somebody wrote in here in our show notes a slam dunk.
No, I meant so much. I meant in the case of we know who he is.
Oh, okay. As far as who he is, we know.
Yeah.
Yes.
So playing Paul's other trainer of arms, basically, or like protector. He's part of
Kind
the
of like an older
guard.
brother kind of
Yeah,
character.
Duncan, Idaho. So he's played by someone, Mr. Water.
Mr. Water. And
Fishman.
Mr.
I'm-
Speaks to
Jason
Fish.
Momoa.
Yeah, here's what I would say is Jason Momoa playing this part. If I were the director, and maybe this is just a fault of mine thinking back to the 80s movie and also what I imagined Duncan to be like when I read the novel, they're going to have to do some serious slimming down of Jason Momoa and playing down his... I don't mind if they get his little quippiness in there. I think that's fine. I think that Duncan was a somebody that, and they didn't do this well in the movie. Duncan was somebody that Paul trusted implicitly.
Yeah.
He was, like I said, like an older brother, a best friend. He was all of that together. But yet he was, but Duncan was also true to Leto, no matter what
he
Paul
was
was
loyal
doing.
to the Atreides.
Right. To the trade. He was totally loyal throughout. But I never pictured him as a hulking dude.
Yeah, that's like you never see Jason Momoa without the huge beard, and Duncan's kind of comes across as like a clean cut. Like he is a loyal. I kind of see him more like a clean cut person.
Right.
And like, no, not the huge hulking, gigantic biceps Jason Momoa.
Right.
So in terms of that, I don't know how I like it in terms of how he looks.
Unless
Well, they released cast photos.
Denis decides to again bring write back some things from the future.
True.
And there's some things that happen in the later books that are just really weird that we won't get into, but Duncan plays a part in them. And if they were to write back some of that, I don't know. But I still don't see him as a fighter or a...
No, but
No, pull it. Google. We're doing this again, but I'll put a link to this in the show notes. This image we're looking up.
Hat tip to Ryan.
Just look up Dune cast.
come on, Ryan.
No, get on Google.
So while we're doing
Google.
that,
Google.
could you?
You're on IMDb right now.
So while we're looking that
Get
up,
together, Ryan.
could you say that Jason Momoa is going to be a fish out of water?
I would say
Dune cast.
he'll either be a fish out of water, or
And then go to images.
he'll make a splash. That was too easy.
And then it is that one in the middle on the second row.
Oh, very good lighting. You can see this very
It's
well.
tough, but no, go back. Pull that up full screen. So, actually, there's more pictures here. I'll just link this whole article.
There he is right there. No.
Well, those are from
Wow.
other movies they
Oh, yeah,
have.
these are from other movies. Oscar.
No, I think that's a picture.
Those two were pictures from it.
These
That's a
are
picture
all-
from it.
Yeah.
Josh,
I think that's a picture
that's
from it.
not. That's
No?
From, that's from that.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
you're
from,
right.
This is
That's-
from
James
Bond.
Bond.
James Bond.
Yeah,
That's from it though. I
that
think.
is from this.
Yeah.
That's from one of the screenshots.
That
There we
might
go.
be.
Might be.
It has to be. What else was he playing?
We'll scroll down more because he's the first person when they show a full picture of all of the cast
Where?
together.
That's not.
No,
I
go back.
don't know who
go
these
back to the
people are
Google
supposed to be
Google
playing.
page, and pull up the full image.
Yeah, just
Just right click on it.
nope.
No,
on the
right click on that.
Yep.
And open
Open
image.
image.
Is
window.
he's the guy in front? He kind of looks
He's
like the
the very
great
he's the guy in the
Khali.
very front.
Here.
Yes.
All
That's
right. See, I'm
Jason.
okay with that. I think that
And I will
that
post
fits.
this picture in there.
Yeah.
But also in this picture, you can see third from the left. That is Timothy.
Paul. Yeah.
Fifth from the left is Isaac, and next to him is Jessica or is Ferguson.
6. That's Gurney.
Six is Gurney,
That's 7th. 7th from
or
the left.
seventh from the left. Yeah, but I don't know who the first two are. I don't know who the fourth one is, and I don't know any of the people past.
Well, one of them has to be what's his name? The one we had, the Mentat. What's his name?
Yeah. I can't
Anyway.
remember.
You can look-
But he would be dressed differently. The Mentats didn't dress like this. These are the.
Look at
this
the,
is
yeah,
like,
the guy fourth from the left is dressed differently than all of them. He's not wearing like the black.
that's not the Mentat.
No, that's not.
There's no way.
No,
No, the Mentats. No.
He's a fighter also.
Yeah. He was in. He was in that. He was.
We'll
in
go
that
all the way
list.
over to the.
We've got one
right here.
image
This
and
is
they're
him.
already off the book.
Oh, okay.
This is Stephen
Who's he-
McKinley Henderson.
Does it say who plays?
playing-
Who for what? That is the Mentat.
Oh, he is.
That's
Yeah, I don't
that's
like him as the-
weird.
I don't like him
That's
as-
very
No.
weird.
Here, I'll show you why.
Even just
we're doing
You guys
we're
can
doing the
talk.
screen thing.
You guys
well,
can talk.
described
about
in
it.
the
Like-
book, Thufir Hawat, he's the mentat who serves which are basically the people computers. He serves the Atreides family, and he's described like he fights in the book.
Looks like him a little bit.
I don't even like that.
No,
that's
me neither.
that's terrible.
He looks like the guy from
Or
Princess
is it,
Bride.
are you thinking of that picture down there? Next one.
Which
the witch doctor, the guy whose wife comes in and goes humpading, 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 humpading.
from Princess? Yeah, he looks
I'm not a witch. I'm your wife. Oh yes.
so yeah, what else? Who
Tortured
else
by
do
the
we have there?
Harkonnens.
Oh yeah,
This is what I think of as this. Oh, David Lynch.
David Lynch. Yeah,
Yeah. This is what I think of with the mentat.
younger and
Yeah.
thinner.
even like that's
Yeah, but I mean-
kind of goofy looking.
So anyway, yes. So he is the mentat.
that's very weird.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I
what
guess
were some
we'll
of the
see.
others we had written on the Google Doc there? I don't
Who
think
else?
we had many left. We had Javier Bardem as Stilgar, which
Who-
we talked about him.
Yeah, he's in a similar situation as Chani in terms of where he comes into the book. So
Right.
he can't be a main character in the first movie.
Yeah. And everyone should know him. Like, if you haven't seen No Country for Old Men, you've probably seen Skyfall or Pirates of the Caribbean, Men Tell No Tales.
And
Even if you haven't seen any of those, you probably would recognize him if you saw a picture.
Yeah, he's a.
he's really
But also,
good.
apparently, he's married to Penelope Cruz. Didn't
Who
know
is
that.
who?
She was in another Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
She was in the fourth one.
She was in the fourth one.
Yeah.
She's very attractive.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the last one I had written was Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Harkonnen.
But he's not in this anywhere.
No.
I mean, this
No,
would be a shot.
don't even know-
That's
there's
the
not even a
Atreides.
picture of
Right,
That's,
this
they
is
have
the
the banner
Atreides.
in the back and everything.
All they've released so far are pictures of the Atreides together, pictures of the suits they wear when they're on Dune, and then a couple other pictures from all. I think they all look like it's when they're on Dune.
Yeah.
But they haven't released anything about, which doesn't surprise me. I feel like they're going for a shock factor.
Yeah.
Because isn't Harkonnen supposed to be like just horrific, like in his visage?
Basically, you're just supposed to be disgusted by him. He's basically
Yeah.
representing like.
Which I think
greed
I'm really
and-
excited to see Stellan Skarsgård do that. I feel like he'll
Yeah.
chew it up.
Yeah, he could easily do that.
Yeah. There's other things. I can read you names of characters. Peter DeVries,
He works with the Harkonnens.
David
He's also a mentat.
Desmalchian plays him.
No clue. what that is.
He's been in Dark Knight, Ant-Man. He was in Blade Runner 2049, but I think he was just
Who did he
playing.
play in those?
In Blade Runner, he was Coco. In Ant-Man, he was Kurt. And in Dark Knight, he was credited as Joker's thug.
All right.
Leet Kynes. Kins.
Yeah, he was actually the
She.
He was the
she's a she now, but she was a he and was a
like planet like what is it?
Yeah, like a biologist.
Yeah,
or something.
for the planet.
Actually, this one's easy. She was the black senator in Rogue One when they're in the meeting room. I think
Don't
more toward the
remember
end. I think she's one of the ones who encourages everyone to stay and fight.
Another one of your friends, Matt.
I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
no,
it's
it's
just,
July 4th. It's fireworks.
Pretty lax with guns.
Dr.
around here.
Wellington
Well, it's
Yu.
July 2nd when this comes out.
Yeah, that was
Hey, happy.
yeah, he's on he's just a member of the
Yeah.
their
He was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
group. Ooh.
As
Oh yeah,
Low
he was
Dark
this-
Cloud.
Yeah,
Who's this playing?
this
as?
one right here.
What's he
Dr.
playing?
Wellington Yu.
Yeah. Dr. Yue.
Oh,
and I always
Yue.
pronounce it Yue.
Yue.
when
I
I'm
think
right.
it's
I don't
Yue.
know.
Yeah.
It might be.
I think the name is pronounced Yue.
Jameis.
James.
At this point, we're getting into just first names. Jameis and Hurrah.
James.
No, that's gotta be
Jamis.
that's gotta be a Fremen.
Probably.
Yeah, that sounds.
And then
Fremen.
from there, it just goes into first trooper, Hawat specialist,
Yeah.
deaf trooper, second trooper,
Yeah.
a Tradish soldier, Sardaukar soldier,
him.
Sardaukar were they were the emperor's
Yeah.
Sardaukar
Death
assassin
March.
is another credit.
troopers. Yeah.
Leto officer, uncredited. More Leto, yeah. And then there's just a bunch of Sardaukar soldiers.
Wait. So wait, is there no?
That's
what's-
all we know about it.
What's the nephew of Harkonnen? What's his name?
Raban?
No, that's the Beast.
Oh.
The Beast is Raban, isn't it?
I can't remember the one that Sting played. Sting played I can't remember.
We'll see if it's on here at all.
Yeah, the only other one we didn't really touch on was Charlotte Rampling is Gaius Helen Mohiam. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
What is?
She's Jessica's
Oh, the mother.
reverend mother.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where is this?
This is the 84 one he's looking at right now.
Yeah, we're just trying to find.
I'm looking for Sting.
He should be one of the top billed ones.
I know.
We went through everyone. At this point, we've mentioned every character that we know of so
we've
far.
missed one of the, especially in the old movie. He's basically the antagonist, or one.
Fade
Fade.
Routha.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not mentioned in the credits right now.
No. So actually,
Wouldn't it be
he's
funny
only
if they brought him
relevant in
back for
like
it?
the end of the book, really.
I was going to say there's a lot of
so he
people
might
that
be in
are
the
still
sequel.
alive.
They
I'm wondering
talk-
if they're
yeah.
going to have a lot of cameos.
I would hope Sting would come in as something.
So we've pretty much talked about everything we know about this movie.
Yeah.
I believe we've pretty much covered the entire cast of it we know so far. And we've pretty much, I'll put links to the pictures, but there's not many pictures from on set.
No.
And the only video we've gotten, I believe, is a hand picking up sand.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we don't know much about this, despite the fact that it's supposed to come out in 6 months.
Yeah.
So
Which is pretty impressive.
yes, and it's exciting. Like we don't know anything about like
Yeah.
what the worms look like. We don't know anything about the Harkonnens. We don't know anything about like what architecture and stuff is going to look like. What any of it's going to be.
So, and then my thought too is that how many people are listening right now? Raise your hands when I ask this, who know about Dune and are planning to watch Dune and would be affected by any spoiler. Raise your hands. All right, 1, 2. There's like 2 people that raised their
Probably.
hands.
Yeah.
So everybody else.
So where are they? Well, before we get into the spoiler stuff, though, I do want to point out they're making a TV series. Apparently,
Yeah.
He's working on a pilot for Dune: The Sisterhood, which apparently centers on the lives of the Bene Gesserit.
Which should be
Gesserit, I
which
don't know.
should be a heck of a scope because the Bene Gesserit were involved with everybody.
Yeah.
They really were. They were involved in all of the shakers and movers in the universe.
Yeah. That's what they're described as. They've been around for like the memory of anyone, basically.
Because this is kind of George Lucas stole this as well, is when a person becomes a Bene Gesserit, that they actually get all the knowledge and memory of everybody before them.
But only the female line before them.
Right.
None of the males.
Right. And but there's
Also, you follow a matriarchy all the way back.
Yeah.
right, but there've been
makes
no males. It's like a legend that there may be a male.
The Kwisatz Haderach or
Quiz-
something. I butchered that.
Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah. That.
Yeah.
Is a male who can have that ability to
So
see
maybe we'll hear
back.
about him.
And they'd be
It
able
might
to
happen.
see all the male memories
But
as
it
well.
is Denis Villeneuve that is producing the pilot for this.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a movie director. Odds are he's not going to be directing a TV series.
Right.
He's going to get a pilot made for this, and who knows how much it'll even tie into the movie because it's a big universe.
Yeah. It might be like
And if they're as widespread as you're saying, then it would be easy to tell
Yeah,
a story
it
that
might-
wasn't connected.
it could be like a Silmarillion to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Just something that gives you more
So-
story.
Yeah. So where would they split it? Like what happened? Like
So there's basically in the center of the book.
Oh,
so
yikes.
this is now spoiler
I've
territory
seen that.
for
I've
anyone.
seen that
Yeah.
screenshot or that cover before.
But there's a 2-year gap in the middle of the book
Okay.
where it skips. I think it's 2 years, right? It's
Once they're
2
after
or
the battle
3.
or before it.
After the battle, whenever they get to the what are they called? The places where the Fremen live. Him and Jessica
Right.
get there where they
That's
live,
right.
and then it cuts to 2 years afterwards, basically.
okay.
So the Fremen accept them in as like one of their people, and that's where that's the reasonable place for the movie to end.
And yeah, you
Right.
can end it there. The
Yeah.
battle's won and
Them,
he's
battle's-
accepted.
them escaping.
the
no,
battle's
they lose.
lost.
They lose.
So
They
the
have to
Harkonnens,
escape.
attack the Atreides,
okay.
and that's also where spoiler again, but that's where Duke Leto dies.
Okay.
And it's interesting too because when they escape because of a threat underneath the sand, they have to walk the entire distance without having any rhythm.
Yeah. So that's basically how
Think
the
about
worms
that.
hunt,
How hard that would be.
is you have to constantly break because the worms hunt because they can't tell the sand's always moving.
Yeah.
You can't like distinguish different sands. But if there's a pattern, if you can feel something walking, excuse me, like with a pattern, you can go for it. So that's how the worms
Right.
hunt.
Yikes.
And so they have to walk across these huge expanses between rocks, like
Without
just
any-
breaking up the rhythm.
So how much different can they actually make the worms look than they already do in 1984's Dune?
Not much. I mean, a worm's a worm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a worm with a big old
know?
gaping mouth, tons of teeth.
Right.
Yeah, it's a sarlacc that moves.
Yeah. There's not many ways you can break that up.
Yeah.
And how do you get like unnatural long life in the Sarlacc's belly?
Huh?
It feeds you nutrients. I don't know.
Kind of like
You
the
grow
reverse
into it.
tapeworm.
Yeah, I guess. Like instead of it living in your body forever.
living in its
body.
Yeah.
But I never understood that, where you'll be eaten alive for
jeez.
1,000 years, or whatever the saying is that,
don't
who
know.
was it? C-3PO said. you know?
Yeah. Translate.
Like, wait a second. So what? You get like a fountain of youth in
Well,
the
they
Sarlacc's belly?
They actually may have addressed this in Futurama with the 4D whale.
Oh.
So the whale lives on, what is it, the passion of the ship captain, and just absorbs him, and both of them become immortal because now they're one.
That's got to be it. And you're in the belly of the Sarlacc, and you're just
Was that
impassioned enough.
you
that,
become
yeah.
Was that from the
Sarlacc.
Beast of a Thousand Backs movie? Or was that just an
I-
episode?
That sounds like
To be honest with you, I don't know what the reference is from. I just remember the Futurama episode.
well, it sounds like it's a joke on what's the whale book?
Jonah?
No, the whale book
Moby
with
Dick?
Ishmael. Yeah,
Oh, Moby
that sounds
Dick,
like it's
yeah.
like a joke about that because isn't that
well,
how it ends?
It's a combination of jokes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I thought.
That
of.
was a story of revenge more than anything.
Yeah, and how the whale eventually eats you if you try and get revenge on it.
No, then the story that revenge ends up killing you.
Yeah.
I was making a joke.
If you guys keep talking about revenge, I'm going to rant about The Last of Us 2 again.
All right, well, let's not do that. But anyway, yeah. So, what other thoughts did you guys have on Dune, the hit movie coming out soon?
I have a kind of worry. So if anyone's seen the Hobbit movies, which I hate
have.
them. I hate them personally.
Wait, you mean the Lord of the Rings?
No, the Hobbit movies.
The Hobbit.
Big difference. Because if you read the Hobbit, how many? It's 120 pages.
The
right?
Hobbit?
book.
No, it's more than that.
Yeah,
I don't think it's much more.
it's comparable to an individual Lord of the Rings book.
Yeah. So like it's between I'd say in the realm of 100 to 300 pages. Not something that you can have
huge
in
gap.
3 feature-length films. You don't have enough material for that. It's just a fact. And when you watch those, there's the love triangle, but like it just there's so much unnecessary stuff added that it made the
Did you
film
ever watch
bad.
Lindsay Ellis's 3-part documentary on The Hobbit?
No.
You should.
Yeah, you should.
Does she
It was
rip
really
it?
good.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Well,
Yeah.
she doesn't necessarily rip it. As she points out the facts of like why it was terrible.
Yeah.
Like why each decision was made. Why it was split. Why it was split from 2 movies into 3. Why they added the love triangle in there. Like
That's Kindle.
she talks a lot about that stuff and a lot about how it and how the movie affected New Zealand. Like,
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal series. I highly recommend it.
Because it was real.
So basically, yeah.
Ugh, makes my skin crawl now. I can't even unhear it.
That's funny.
Why does love hurt so bad?
Oh,
when
God.
eventually Lily's
Oh.
holding the
Because it was real.
the
My
dwarf that
God.
looks like Aragorn.
You
Yeah.
guys showed me that the last time, and it was
Yeah.
terrible. I was
Oh.
just like, what happened?
But yeah, the reason I bring that up is because The Hobbit, I think one of the biggest problems with those movies was overextending it, was
Yeah.
making it into 3 movies and needing filler. And that's one of my, because the Dune book is only 412 pages, and The Hobbit was 322.
Well, that's
That
in
just
that's a
shows.
Kindle. It could be
But yeah.
less than that.
So
Yeah.
basically, 412 pages, that's not a ton of material. And so my worry is the filler. Are
Well,
they going to put Hobbit filler
But The
in?
Hobbit was too big to be one movie. That was the issue.
Yeah.
The Hobbit was too big
Well,
to be
that's what
one
he's
movie.
saying. Yeah.
But it was big enough to be 2 movies.
But they managed with
Right.
each of the Lord of the Rings books, 1 movie for each. I mean, they're long. They're very
and
long.
they
Yes.
padded it.
Yeah. So, I mean, they took out a lot in Lord of the Rings.
did.
I know, but when you watch this documentary, it's clear why it happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why it was so bad because of that.
And you should check out her other stuff is incredible. Like she knows her stuff about film and like how the industry works.
yeah.
But that's my
But-
concern with Dune is
But yeah, no, she points.
Being
I
too
think she
much.
also goes into that of how The Hobbit would have worked really well as 2 movies, and how there was I forget what the natural splitting point is. I think it might be when they escape the goblins
that's probably it.
before they get to Lake Town. But
Even that.
it would have been comfortable place to split it because then you give the movie time to do Smaug, give him
Right.
time, don't have to kill him 10 minutes into the 3rd movie.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing of that movie is the Battle of 5 Armies, which
A
is half
chapter.
a page. No, it's half a page in the book.
Really?
Yes, and Bilbo's
Yeah, no.
unconscious for all the rest of it.
It doesn't go into any detail. Like it
No.
what? It starts. The battle starts. He goes unconscious. He wakes up, and Thorin's dying.
Yes,
Like that's
the
it.
battle's over. Yes,
No, and they made it into a whole movie.
Yes.
That's the entire focus of the 3rd
so
movie.
that's
is the
why
Battle
you
of Five
probably shouldn't be
Armies.
as concerned. You should be concerned if they suddenly tell him it's going to be 3 movies. But I think Dune is. I don't think they expect Dune to make that much money. It's kind of a niche thing.
I disagree. You're not
You
going to
think?
put those actors in
No.
a movie like
It
this
really, like-
and not think you're going to make.
I mean, that's
I
fair.
think the actors alone are just going to pull random people in to
Well,
be like,
right,
oh, hey, this
right.
guy's in it. Let's go watch
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
That's
a lot of that's going to depend on what rating they're going to give it.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one.
That'll be a huge one because you got a Zendaya audience that's a lot younger than a Batista audience.
Yes.
You know, and the Batista audience is going in looking for Batista kind of stuff.
And you got to keep in mind if you market this as a PG-13 movie, the pacing is not going to support a PG-13 rating. If that makes sense.
Right. No, I mean, it will support the rating. It's not going to support the audience.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Because that's the big thing with Logan is what the real reason the director of Logan wanted an R rating is because it let him it let the studio let him pace it better in a more mature way.
For an adult audience.
Yes.
Right.
Because then he didn't have to add in a fight scene every 15 to 20 minutes like Marvel movies have to.
Right. Like
Because you gotta-
Deadpool.
Yes.
That's why they did it. Was just for the pacing.
Yeah.
That's why they rated it.
Yeah,
that.
for sure. Yeah, no. Deadpool, they did it for the obvious reason. But Logan more so, partially to show, obviously a guy with knives for hands is going to cause blood. But also it lets them, because the movie really slows down in the middle half.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much
Right.
action after they escape the casino.
Right.
And it's like that for almost an hour, which doesn't work in a movie for teenagers and kids.
Right.
But it works for a movie with adults.
But you've got the draw of Momoa side too, which
Yes.
is the Aquaman, again a younger crowd that's that he's cool and all that.
My thing that I don't, short of them making the fight scenes gory, there's not a lot in those books that
and that's
would warrant an R rating. It's not a really R-rated book
Right.
No,
series
and
at
you're
all.
right. So then
We've also
Prey will
lowered
be-
the standard or risen the standard,
Yeah,
lowered
for
the
R.
standard. How I want to say that for R. It's a lot
Yeah.
harder to get an R rating now than it was
Yeah.
then as
Right.
well.
Back
Because
then,
everyone
you just
knows
have
you
to
have your
say,
PG-13 one F-bomb.
frankly,
Yeah.
my dear, I don't give a darn.
Yeah.
Get
Hey
an
now,
R rating.
watch that mouse.
So
Sorry.
yeah, that's the thing is you're probably right. It probably will get a PG-13 just by the nature of what it's based on, and
Yeah.
there's no point adding
Right.
anything.
Short of, like you said, with Logan, is getting the pacing.
And even
to
then,
more mature.
it does give them a wider audience,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to pace a movie differently because it's PG-13.
Right.
You just need to expect that. Some people probably aren't going to like it.
You're
And
getting the 13 to 17 crowd or 13 to 18 crowd.
What was
Yeah, makes
New
a big
Hope
deal.
rated?
Yeah.
PG or PG-13?
I believe it would have been before PG-13 was a thing.
So it would have been PG.
But
PG.
PG.
So if you think about it too, as much as you can poo-poo it for lack of special effects and all that kind of stuff, it was really took its time, as
Yeah.
opposed to the later Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of the first trilogy,
That was Star Wars?
that was it. That was what they were talking
Reference
about.
to riff tracks there.
Yep.
Well, and you got to keep in mind if you want to talk about ratings too. Keep in mind that Airplane was PG as well.
Right.
So
What's that about?
It's a comedy.
it's really funny. It's a comedy, but it's very not for kids.
All right. I fell flat. It was a joke. It's about an airplane.
No, it's about an airport with planes.
Yeah, and some of it takes place on an airplane too.
Yeah.
All right.
some on an
Well,
airplane.
Yeah.
So what's your question, John Paul?
No, I'm good. That's all right.
Anything else you had for Dune?
Not really. Mostly just, I mean, like you said, there's not a lot that we know about it.
Yeah.
And my concerns basically just rest on the casting and what the splitting up into two movies.
Yeah.
Which
And
we've already
from what I
covered.
understand, they're not filming them concurrently, so we might be waiting longer to see a second one.
Are they not filming concurrently because of COVID, or was it always planned not to be ran like that?
I believe in recent memory, Lord of the Rings is the only time they filmed a series back to back before releasing any of them. Like they did with Pirates of the Caribbean. They filmed and released the first one and then filmed the second and third concurrently. It's very rare that they'll film the first part of a series along with the second.
I mean, imagine the kind of money you have to front to film an
That's
entire
part of
trilogy.
it, and also the risk is like
Yeah, if it falls flat.
exactly. You got to I mean, yeah, as a studio, you've got to be paying attention to those risks.
No trilogies ever do that. Fall
No.
flat. Planet
Some
of
of
the
them even do
Apes.
better. Look at Dark Knight. Look
yeah.
at what do you call it?
Muad'Dib, I forgot about
Some
that.
of them do fall flat on the third one, but
Yeah, Maldiv.
like Godfather.
I thought people say the third Godfather was the best.
No, second.
Second.
Yeah.
I've only seen the first.
But yeah, so if that's all you guys have,
Yeah, that's it.
we're just looking at trivia on IMDb at this point.
Well, no, I was looking to see. I couldn't remember who produced this. Who produced the series
We have to go to the
of
producers.
details? Sci-Fi. Yeah, so I thought
Okay.
it was a sci-fi.
Yeah, then that makes sense.
And
on
it
why
was at a
wasn't
time
great.
when sci-fi was actually not very good at making series.
Time?
if you can think,
yeah, believe it or not.
that's.
and
but I
then
mean,
and then they went on to make it The Expanse.
but if you look, if you look though, look at the rating actually for IMDb. That's a pretty darn good rating.
Oh yeah, that is out of 7.1 out of 10 from 17,706 reviews.
Yeah.
That's not terrible.
No, so maybe
Maybe
we
it's
should
worth
look at
giving
that
it a
before we
shot.
talk about it again.
And if you're
Yeah.
wondering if it was filmed in the early 2000s, just look at Paul's haircut.
Very
Yeah.
fancy. Do you think he had product?
No,
He
no,
also looks
it's
like every
naturally
heartthrob
like that.
from the early 2000s.
Yeah, no, he naturally just looks like Paul McCartney.
But yeah, the only other thing I had on the
Just
show
Tom
notes
Cruise, Paul
was
McCartney, Jesse.
that AMC has pushed back the opening of their theaters by 2 weeks. So they're going to be opening. They're planning to reopen July 30th and hopefully be fully operational in early August.
And that'll probably change.
as a
with
consequence
everything.
I
of
was
that-
just going to say,
Yeah.
yeah, because of all of the political maneuvering that's going on
Well,
right
I think
now.
it's AMC in particular that has said they don't know if they can make it another couple months without reopening.
Oh yeah, especially because it's not just going to be that they've delayed their opening. It's going to be that once they open, they're still not going to get the numbers they had before.
No.
So they're going to be hurt when they come back too.
Yeah.
And especially now that studios are starting to get used to releasing movies directly to digital release.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why would I spend the money to go see a movie if I could go to the store, buy a bag of popcorn,
Right.
and come back home and watch it or with my family?
Yeah, there's a lot about it that's kind of things are not going to be back to normal. There's no such thing.
Yeah, we're gonna see like you might see more of are things like here in Pittsburgh we have the Row House Cinema, or also we have one down in there's a Hollywood theater down in I forget next neighborhood over.
Oh, Bridgeville.
No, where they're theaters that show more arty stuff, or they do like throwback stuff. Like they might do a day where they do a marathon of Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
and they'll occasionally do new releases where they do a special event beforehand of movies. So they're more events than they are going to the theater to see a movie.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was actually kind of amazed that I haven't seen a ton of ads for drive-through theaters now.
Yeah.
The old drive-ins.
Well, because they all
comeback.
closed because
Yeah.
it was too expensive. There were a couple near Washington that we went to, and both of them I think are now closed because what happened was the film, if you want to call it that they were being sent, the equipment they had to get was really expensive, and then you had all kinds of liability issues with people running over people laying on the ground, and which always dampens the mood. And so you just had all Dad,
Feel that?
These guys are over here
Well,
screaming.
also
I'm just
the-
trying to enjoy
the
this
amount
movie.
of land you need that's for the most part sitting there empty because you have this narrow window of time where you can actually show a movie.
Yeah.
Because you have, between, depending on when, 9 p.m. and maybe 1 a.m.
Right.
that you can show it each
especially
night.
Yeah,
summer,
and
right.
but you're also subject to weather conditions.
And
Well,
a lot
is
of
it
them are
going to
charging
rain?
per car.
Do you have a
Subject,
hurricane?
like you said, to weather.
Yeah.
And that weather can damage your very expensive screens. And also it's
Tsunami?
just
Hail?
the amount of capital you need to open a new
Lightning?
one, to buy the land and develop it and
Strong
get all the
wind.
stuff put in and all the equipment. At this point, why would you spend all the money on that?
Right.
Earthquake.
Especially if you have things like AMC, there's not many independent theaters anymore. A lot of them are franchises.
Maelstrom.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That does make sense.
drive-in theaters are pretty much dead at this point. Like
Volcano.
over here listing natural disasters. Does anyone else have anything they want to talk
Earthquake.
about?
I already said that.
I said it louder.
We could talk about the movie Core next week.
Oh, I like that movie.
Thank you everybody for listening.
Excitement.
If you liked
All
us,
right, hey.
like I said at the beginning, make sure you tell your friends about us. You can also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Pop Culture Unboxing. And be sure to also leave us a review on iTunes because those help us a lot. I've been Matt, and you can find me at MattRossVO on Twitter.
You can find me at _leaf LIEF
your name
on
again?
Twitter.
That's Zach.
I'm
It
Zach.
is Zach.
Yeah, and you can find me at this podcast once in a while.
Yep.
You can find me.
Wait, who are you?
Dawn
Yes.
or Dad
or either
Matt's
or.
dad.
Yeah.
JP, and you can probably find me sleeping in my parents' basement at any time of day.
Where can they find you online?
Pretty much.
Anywhere
Or
online?
door dashing.
No, or
Oh,
you
yeah.
can find me DoorDash.
If you live in Pittsburgh and order in DoorDash, you might get him
feel
as a driver.
free. You know,
He'll sign autographs.
Tell me how you feel about Dune. I'll probably disagree with you, and it'll be a good argument.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And you can share
There
the
goes
food
your
with them.
rating.
Yeah. I'll agree with everything you say.
5 stars.
But yeah, thank you all for listening.
Awesome.
All right.
See you guys.
Have fun.